Very good morning to you. Objective Geology, multiple choice questions with answers. This is the solved question paper of CSIR NET Earth, Atmospheric and Oceanographic Sciences 2016 question paper. And I hope this solved question paper is useful for various competitive exams like CSIR, NET, GATE, GSI and other competitive exams. Welcome to set 2. Coming to the first question. The fold which is convex upwards is called, the options given are A. Syncline, B. Recumbent, C. Synform, D. Antiform. The correct answer goes as a D. Antiform. A fold that is convex upwards, that is arched or upfold, is called as an antiform, while an antiform refers specifically the upward closing shape, and it is often called as an anticline if the rock layers are known to be older in the core. If the rock layers are younger in the core, it is called as an antiformal syncline. So the fold which is convex upwards is called antiform. D is the correct option. Next question. The fold having angular hinge is known as A. Tight fold, B. Chevron fold, C. Parallel fold, D. Similar fold. The correct option goes as B. Chevron fold. A fold having an angular hinge characterized by straight planar limbs that meet at a sharp point is known as a chevron fold. These folds, sometimes called as accordion folds, typically they form in thick sequences of alternating competent and incompetent rock layers due to regional compressive stress. Next question. The ratio of the shearing stress to the shearing strain is A. Poisson's ratio, B. Incompressibility, C. Young's modulus and D. Rigidity modulus. The correct option goes as D. Rigidity modulus. The ratio of the shearing stress to the shearing strain within the elastic limit is known as the shear modulus, or it is also commonly known as the modulus of rigidity or rigidity modulus, and it is denoted by the symbol G or C, and it measures a material's resistance to deformation. Next question. The branch of geophysics which deals with the seismic waves is called, simple question, A. Seismology, B. Limnology, C. Palynology and D. None of the above. The correct option goes as A. Seismology. Seismology is the scientific study of the earthquakes and the propagation of elastic waves through the earth or other planet-like bodies, and it is a specialized branch of geophysics that analyzes both natural, tectonic-driven quakes and artificial vibrations to understand Earth's interior structure. Next question. The upper shell of the earth up to 100 kilometers depth is called A. Crust, B. Lithosphere, C. Biosphere and D. Asthenosphere. The correct option goes as B. Lithosphere. The lithosphere is the rigid outermost shell of the earth, generally extending to a depth of about 100 kilometers. It includes the crust and the brittle upper portion of the mantle, acting as a cool, solid layer that sits above the warmer, more ductile asthenosphere. Next question. Which is the point situated on the surface of the earth above the focus of an earthquake? The choices are A. Epicenter, B. Center of gravity, C. Focal point and D. Stress location. The correct option goes as A. Epicenter. The point on the surface of the earth directly above the focus or hypocenter of an earthquake is called as the epicenter. This location generally experiences the most intense shaking and surface damage. So epicenter is the point situated on the surface of the earth above the focus of an earthquake. Next question. Which is an example of seafloor spreading? A. San Marino Trench, B. San Andreas Fault, C. Mid-Atlantic Ridge and D. Rocky and Andes Mountains. The correct option goes as C. Mid-Atlantic Ridge. The Mid-Atlantic Ridge is a primary example of seafloor spreading, and it is a divergent boundary where the North American or Eurasian and South American or African plates are separating, allowing magma to rise, cool and create new oceanic crust. And this process continuously widens the Atlantic Ocean at a rate of roughly 1 to 10 centimeters per year. So Mid-Atlantic Ridge is an example of seafloor spreading. C is the correct option. Next question. Tsunamis are developed due to 1. Submarine quakes, 2. Floods, 3. Volcanic eruptions within the oceans and 4. Cyclones. The options are A. 1 and 3 are correct, B. 1 and 2 are correct, C. 3 and 4 are correct and D. All are correct. The correct option goes as A. 1 and 3 are correct. Tsunamis are developed due to submarine quakes and volcanic eruptions within the oceans. Next question. The oceanic conveyor belt flows continuously in A. Arctic Ocean, B. Atlantic Ocean, C. Indian Ocean, and D. Pacific Ocean. The oceanic conveyor belt flows continuously in Atlantic Ocean. The oceanic conveyor belt or Atlantic Meridional Overturning Circulation, that is also designated as AMOC, it flows continuously in the Atlantic Ocean, acting as a crucial conveyor of warm surface water, north and cold, and dense water south. And these are driven by density differences, temperature and salinity, and it functions as a global conveyor belt transporting heat around the world. So Atlantic Ocean, the oceanic conveyor belt flows continuously. Next question. Continental shelf is defined as A. The highest of the continent from mean sea level, B. The highest difference between two continents, and C. The zone around the continent from the low water mark seaward up to the continental slope, and D. The distance between the two continents. The correct option goes as a C. A continental shelf is the gently sloping, shallow submerged extension of a continent, typically extending from the coastline to a depth of about 100 to 200 meters, where a steeper descent begins, and it acts as a geological boundary of the continents, and it is the zone around the continents from the low water mark seaward up to the continental slope. Next question. Water masses are identified by A. Temperature, salinity, nutrients, and oxygen content. B. Temperature they possess. And C. Depth at which they occur. And D. The mass of water they possess. The correct option goes as A. Temperature, salinity, nutrients, and oxygen content. Water masses are identified and classified primarily by the temperature and salinity. These are also known as thermohaline properties and further characterized by oxygen and nutrient concentrations. Next question. The force due to the rotation of the earth is A. Pressure gradient force, B. Fractional force, C. Gravity force, and D. Coriolis force. The correct option goes as D. Coriolis force. The Coriolis force is an apparent force which is caused by the Earth's rotation that deflects moving objects such as air currents, ocean currents, and projectiles to the right in the northern hemisphere and to the left in the southern hemisphere. It is zero at the equator and strongest at the poles. So the force due to the rotation of the Earth is Coriolis force. D is the correct option. Next question. In the atmosphere, meteorologically, the most significant waves are A. Sound, B. Gravity, C. Rossby, and D. Electromagnetic. The correct option goes as a C. Rossby. Rossby waves are the most significant waves in the atmosphere for large-scale meteorology and climate. These large-scale slow-moving meanders in high-altitude westerly winds caused by the Earth's rotation transport heat from the tropics toward the poles and cold air towards the equator. Next question. The type of low-frequency gravity wave trapped in a vertical boundary on the equator is called A. Shearing gravity, B. Kelvin wave, C. Rossby wave, and D. Internal wave. The correct option goes as B. Kelvin wave. Kelvin wave is a type of low-frequency, large-scale gravity wave trapped at the equator or along lateral vertical boundaries. Equatorial Kelvin waves propagate eastward, trapped by the Coriolis force, with maximum amplitude on the equator that decays with latitude. So the type of low-frequency gravity wave trapped in a vertical boundary on the equator is called Kelvin wave. B is the correct option. Next question. The height of the Prandtl layer is A. 10 meters, B. 50 meters, and C. 500 meters, D. 1500 meters. The correct option goes as B. 50 meters. The Prandtl layer or surface layer in the atmosphere typically extends from the ground to a height of approximately 20 to 100 meters. It is the lowest part of the planetary boundary layer where turbulent fluxes and shear stresses are roughly constant and Coriolis forces are negligible. So the height of the Prandtl layer is 50 meters. B is the correct option. Next question. The layer in which ozone is present is called, very simple question, A. Troposphere, B. Stratosphere, C. Mesosphere, and D. Exosphere. The correct option is B. Stratosphere. The ozone layer is primarily contained within the stratosphere, which is the second major layer of the Earth's atmosphere, located roughly 10 to 50 kilometers above the Earth's surface. This layer absorbs over 90% of the sun's harmful UV radiation. Next question. In an inversion layer, A. Temperature decreases with height, B. Temperature increases with height, C. Temperature is 0, and D. Temperature is constant. In an inversion layer, temperature increases with height. An inversion layer is a stable atmospheric condition where temperature increases with altitude, contrary to the normal decrease. So this warm air layer, it acts as a lid over the colder, denser air near the ground, restricting vertical mixing. So in an inversion layer, temperature increases with height. B is the correct option. Next question. The approximation where density variation is taken only in the pressure gradient term and not in the other terms is called A. Hydrostatic approximation, B. Geostrophic approximation, C. Boussinesq equation, and D. Brunt-Väisälä approximation. The correct option goes as C. Boussinesq approximation. The approximation where density variation is taken only in the buoyancy term, which involves the pressure gradient, specifically when multiplied by G, and it is neglected in all other terms of the governing equations, is called the Boussinesq approximation. Next question. The term ecosystem was coined by, the options are A. Haeckel, B. Buckle, C. Alexander, and D. Tansley. The correct option goes as a D. Tansley. The term ecosystem was coined by English botanist and ecologist Sir Arthur George Tansley in 1935. Tansley introduced the term to describe the integration of living organisms, that is biotic community, with their physical environment, that is abiotic factors, as a fundamental self-sustaining unit of nature. The term ecosystem was coined by Tansley. D is the correct option. Next question. The term overburden is associated with A. Open cast mining, B. Underground mining, C. Strip mining, and D. Offshore mining. The correct option goes as A. Open cast mining. The term overburden is fundamentally associated with open cast or surface mining, and it refers to the massive volume of soil, rock, and vegetation that lies above a valuable mineral deposit such as coal, copper, or limestone that must be removed to access the ore below. The term overburden is associated with A. Open cast mining. Hope you have followed the content and the questions. See you in the next video. Hope you can explore geosciences and subscribe. Thank you for your time. See you in the next video.